Hello, my name is Bhagwan Chaudhary. I am a professor of finance at ISB, the Indian School of Business. Today I'm speaking with Rajeshwar Upadhyaya, who is the founder and CEO of Par Excellence, which is an executive coaching and an executive education company. Now, Rajeshwar has been teaching at ISB for many years, and I met him there 15 years ago. He has taught both in the PGP program and the executive education program. Rajeshwar, when I attended one of your classes, you said humankind has only one story. Can you tell me what that means?
Sure. Thank you, Bhagwan, for your kind introduction and praise. And thank you for inviting me to this talk. The one story that is operational along human beings is born out of the human predicament. For example, if you look at the word human being, the human being has the word being, but the human being has moved into human having, acquiring, achieving. The human having, to maintain human having, you're trapped in human doing. So the human being has moved away from being to becoming, to doing, to achieving.
So you think crisis is an opportunity to self-examine. And I remember you used the phrase one time saying that sweet are the fruits of adversity. Can you say something about that?
Yeah, sweet are the users of adversity. That's William Shakespeare.
Okay.
Sweet are the users of adversity, not adversity, it's users. And it ties back to Hegelian dialectics. Hegel said that all history progresses through a collision of thesis and antithesis.
Okay.
Thesis and antithesis collide to result in a superior synthesis. This synthesis will generate its own antithesis. And the collision with the next level of antithesis will result again in a superior synthesis.
Yes. Help us a little and tell us how this applies to the current situation. What is the thesis? What is the antithesis? And where is this leading us to?
So thesis is the way we've been living. Corona is a situation that halts us in our tracks, gets us to examine our operating assumptions, and that is the collision. It will be painful, it will be bloody, there will be loss of lives, but your assumptions will get challenged. And in the newer assumptions, in the newer level, deeper levels of understanding, maybe a superior integrated world will emerge where the globe looks at itself like a globe and not as a nation, not as a community, not as a religion. From this experience will be born the wisdom of what the way forward should be. And that would be superior to the way we have been. And that would be the new level of synthesis.
You're not worried that this will force us to become more local, force us to become more parochial and say, close our borders, let's not bring the diseases from outside. Are you not worried about that?
I think it will make us more local in a positive sense, in the sense that locally the community has to look at itself and its own resourcefulness, its intellectual energies, its material energies and capabilities, and begin to solve problems that they're experiencing at a community level. There is no way any government in the world can cater for the needs of 1.3 billion people in a crisis situation. So the local community itself unites, looks at its own operating assumptions and sees which ones have been narrow and prejudicial and suboptimal and dysfunctional, and let's replace those. On the contrary, I think the world will become more borderless, greater global cooperation around figuring out how to manage global disasters at an integrated level, greater mechanisms to detect illnesses and dysfunctional viruses much earlier in the day, and a greater transparency and communication around these issues will become the order of the day. So a superior order of globalization, global integration, and resourcefulness will be the new synthesis, is how I see it.
You talk a lot to executives at businesses, and of course, businesses are very worried about it right now. What advice are you giving them? I remember talking to you last time and you used the word ikigai and you use a Venn diagram analogy. Could you tell us something about that?
So the benefits of reflecting, of going inside, of thinking, even if discursively, even if dialogically, but re-examining your deeper purpose. What do you want to do? What do you want to be? What will comprise your most? What will comprise your own best? That means if you look at what is your authentic actualization, ancient India called this swadharma. Dharma is your duty to others. Swadharma is duty to self-actualization.
Okay.
And the benefit of that self-actualization is actually contributing to the others.
Okay.
So how do you get there? The way to get there is as the book, there's a book in the market called Ikigai. It reasonably captures what one should do. But the exercise, at least conceptually, very simply is, if you were to look at what you are best at doing and make a list of those things,
okay,
and look at what do you love doing and make a list of those things, you will notice that these two overlap as Venn diagram circles, and you get an overlap of what you love to do and what you are good at doing, which means operating out of this space energizes you. When your abilities, aspirations, and values are in alignment, effort is effortless. Exhaustion doesn't come and greet you. You become the leader, you become the voice, you become your own best. You have great clarity on what you want to do and how you want to do it. The third diagram, the third circle in this diagram has to do with what the world needs. Not only what you're good at doing,
what you're good at, what you love to do, and the third one is what is it that the world needs. So you're connecting yourself to the needs of others. Okay.
Correct. And that triangle that you get at the center, overlap of three, is your ikigai. It's probably your actualization space.
Okay. And you think that the current crisis might force us to think about what our ikigai is.
Yes, and I think many people who are on the threshold of finding their ikigai, but were too lazy or too lacking in courage or too mediated by social expectations, did not move forward. And here is a first opportunity for you to look at that and find yourself.
Okay. So can you relate this to how our current dilemma relates to that one story?
Right. So human beings have one story and the current dilemma. I've spoken about Hegelian thesis and antithesis and resulting in a superior synthesis. Sigmund Freud had written a book earlier called Civilization and Its Discontent, where he proposed that all civilization is a contribution of no more than 5 to 7% of the people perpetually postponing their gratification at the order of a greater good. Now, what happens in the Ikigai 3 diagrams, the third diagram is about greater good. What does the world need? And aligning the greater good with your own internal aspirations, values, and desires, how you align those. When you do that, it is not easy. It cannot happen simply because you know this conceptually. And this is where the hero's journey comes in. The hero is an ordinary person leading an ordinary life, a life of what is called business as usual. And then there are a series of transformations that happen where the hero finds his heroism. Otherwise, he's not a hero, he's an ordinary person. But embedded in the ordinary person is an extraordinary capability, and making that capability alive is the purpose of human capability, of the human personality. Finding your own centrality, as it were, finding your own authenticity, or what ancient India called swadharma. And the way to do that, the hero's journey has many steps to it. And like I said, there is only one story in the world, and that's the hero's journey. There's a variation on that, but I'll come to in the end. So business as usual, the difficulty or a challenge or a crisis happens. You ignore that crisis, saying it's no big deal, or when you rationalize it into insignificance, because it is challenging something very fundamentally in you. But the crisis becomes bigger and bigger, and you can no longer ignore it. So you engage with it. As you step outside to engage with it. As you step outside to engage with it, there is troubles, there's problems, there's challenges, there's confusion, there is aloneness, there is fear of not surviving. And when you venture out there, you find, fortuitously, serendipitously, You may find a mentor. You may find a clue. You may find a magic bird. You may find something that gives you idea of how to go forward. And as you move forward through various adventures, you finally arrive at what is called the inner cave. In that cave is a monster. The monster is guarding treasures and is guarding a virgin. Now, this virgin is a metaphor for our own femininity. The treasure is a metaphor for aspects of ourselves that we didn't know. So when you engage with the dragon and you fight the dragon manages to hurt you. You kill the dragon, but you die too in a metaphorical way. That is, you die to your old self. A new wisdom, a new knowledge, a new awakening has happened.
Yeah,
so if you look at Siddhartha, who steps out
and emerges a new self, that is
that is right.
That is the journey. That is
Siddhartha. Correct.
Okay.
Siddhartha, who steps out, passes through all the stages before he finds enlightenment, and that femininity is his compassion, and all Buddhism is about compassion. You'll find the same in the narrative of Christ. You'll find the same in the narrative of Nelson Mandela, of Abraham Lincoln, of Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. In fact, you will find this extraordinary narrative in the transformation of most ordinary people to their own heroism. So finally, when you've got this wisdom and you've got this awakened femininity, which is your emotional intelligence, you make your journey back into the world. As you come back into the world to share that knowledge, to share that courage, to share that wisdom, so as to transform society. So the ordinary man went out, became extraordinary, acquired something, and brought that back to mankind. So the third circle of Ikigai actually fits into the hero's journey. What does the world need?
What does the world need?
And I think if you were to make alive this hero's journey for yourself, I have a framework which I would like to share. Very simply, what should you do to arrive at your own Ikigai or start your own hero's journey? The first dimension of this is falsifiability. Falsifiability. Challenge your own operating assumptions. Explore alternate perspective. See what you've lived with and you become habitual about. Which of those you need? What meaning does it make? So falsifiability is challenging your operating assumptions, finding them inadequate, rejecting them in favor of better set of assumptions, which too can be falsified. That means your journey to actualization starts. Now, next to falsifiability, I would like to put the idea of learning agility. The environment is changing. The environment is complex. The paradigm is going to shift after Corona. And in that changed paradigm, your learning agility is the one that will serve you the most. The third dimension has to do with, a very critical dimension, has to do with frugality.
Frugality.
Simplicity. Frugality. Stoicism. It's foolish to do with more.
Right now. So this is a good opportunity. Yeah.
It's foolish to do with more where less will suffice. Frugality.
Do with more when less will suffice. Excellent.
Excuse me.
Okay.
Then you bring into yourself the idea of emotional maturity.
Okay.
Build the capabilities of emotional maturity. So you have falsifiability, you have learning agility, third was frugality, emotional maturity, and Taleb has an idea called anti-fragility. Building the capability of the anti-fragile. If I throw a glass at the floor, it will shatter. But it is possible to build a glass that won't. So I throw it multiple times. The glass has internal fatigue and then it shatters. That means it has resilience, but not anti-fragility. Anti-fragility is how opposition will make you stronger and more powerful.
I see. Okay. All right.
So you're becoming stronger by virtue of the episode you are trapped in. You're not becoming weaker. You're not becoming fragile. You're becoming anti-fragile. And then you bring in the idea of authentic actualization, which is using and finding your own Ikigai.
Very much for talking to me. I think this message of hope and optimism to relook at ourselves and come up with a better synthesis is something that we all need. Rajeshwar, thank you very much indeed.